It is the middle of a heat wave, and your house has turned into an oven. It is 9 o'clock at night, and it is still 90 degrees, and the walls themselves are radiating heat back at you like a wood stove. You are lying in bed in a puddle of your own sweat, the sheet stuck to you, and that one little fan in the corner is just pushing the same hot air around the room, humming away, doing nothing but making noise. You cannot sleep. You get up and stand in front of the open ice box for a minute just to feel something cool. And in the back of your mind, you are already dreading the electric bill, because you know that if you break down and run that air conditioner around the clock the way you want to, it is going to cost you a small fortune. And maybe you have thought, well, folks got along fine before air conditioning. How in the world did they do it? Because they surely did. For thousands of years, in places a good deal hotter than where you live, people lived and worked and slept through the summer heat and got along just fine. And not one of them ever touched a thermostat. They were not tougher than you. They were not made different. They just knew things. They knew how to live with the heat instead of fighting it, and how to keep a house and a body cool with nothing but sense and a little water. Well, I grew up back in a holler in the mountains, in an old farmhouse that never had a stick of air conditioning in it, and the summers got plenty hot and sticky down in that bottom. But I will tell you, on the worst dog day of August, my grandmother's house was cool and pleasant inside when it was sweltering out, and we slept just fine every night of the summer, because she knew the old ways, the ways that folks worked out over hundreds of years of keeping cool without a machine, and those are the ways that most people have completely forgotten now that we just reach over and turn a dial. So stay with me tonight, and let me give you the old mountain ways to keep yourself and your house cool through the worst of the summer heat, without an air conditioner and without a big electric bill. There is not a one of them that will cost you much of anything. And I promise you, by the time we are done, you are going to be sleeping cool again. Now, before I give you a single trick, I have got to tell you the one thing that changes everything, the one idea that all the rest of this is built on. And once you understand it, keeping cool gets a whole lot easier. And here it is. You do not cool the air. You keep the heat out by day, you let the cool in by night, and you cool your own body. Let me break that down, because there are really two ideas in there, and they are both important. The first is about the house. A house does not have to get hot. The heat you are fighting at 9 o'clock at night is the heat that poured into your house all day long through the sunny windows and the walls and got trapped inside. So the whole game with the house is simple. You keep that heat from ever getting in while the sun is up, and then you let the cool night air flush it out after the sun goes down. Keep it out by day, let it in by night. That is the whole secret of a cool house. And the second idea is even simpler, and it is the one folks forget. You do not have to cool a whole house to be comfortable. You just have to cool your own body. A machine tries to chill every cubic foot of air in every room, which takes a tremendous amount of power. But you are just one person, and there are old, cheap, simple ways to pull the heat right off of your own skin. No matter how warm the room is, get those two ideas in your bones, cool the house by working with the day and the night, and cool your body directly, and you will never be a slave to that air conditioner again. So the first old way, and it is the most important one for the house by a mile, is this. You shut the house up tight in the morning, and you open it up wide at night. Here is exactly how it goes. In the early morning, while it is still cool, the air inside your house is the coolest it is going to be all day. That is your treasure, and your job is to trap it inside. So before the day starts to heat up, you go around and you shut all the windows, and you pull down the shades and close the curtains, especially on the east and the south and the west sides where the sun will come. You close the house up tight as a drum, and you keep it that way all through the heat of the day. You are holding that cool morning air in, and keeping the hot sun out. Then in the evening, once the sun is down and the air outside has finally cooled off below the temperature inside, that is when you throw the whole house open. Every window, the doors wide open. And that cool night air comes pouring in and pushes all the trapped heat of the day right out. You let the house breathe out all night long, and come morning, you shut it up tight again and start over. That one habit, opposite of what most folks do, will change everything. The second old way goes right along with it, and it is about the sun. You keep the sun off your house, because that sun beating down on your roof and your walls, and especially pouring straight in through your windows, is where nearly all your heat comes from. A window in the sun is like a little furnace pointed right into your room, so you block it every way you can. The old wraparound porch was not just for sitting, it shaded the whole south wall of the house all day long. Awnings over the windows did the same. Shutters, the real working kind, closed over the glass on the sunny side. Inside, you pull the shades and close the curtains on whatever side the sun is hitting, and you follow it around through the day, closing up the east in the morning and the west in the afternoon. And the finest thing of all, plant a big shade tree on the south and the west side of your house. The old timers planted trees close to the house on purpose, because a house sitting in the shade of a big tree can be 10 or 15 degrees cooler than the same house baking out in the open sun. Keep the sun off the glass and off the walls, and the heat never gets in to begin with. The third old way is to go to ground, because cool air sinks and hot air rises. So the lowest place in your house is always the coolest. That is why every old farmhouse had a cellar, and why it stayed cool as a cave down there all summer long, even in a heat wave. The old timers knew it, and in the worst heat of the afternoon, they would go down into that cool cellar to work or to rest, or bring their chair down to the lowest floor of the house. And on the very hottest nights, when there was no sleeping upstairs, they would take a pallet or a cot down to the coolest, lowest room in the house and sleep there. Even now, if you have got a basement, it is the coolest room you own in the summer. So use it. Go downstairs in the heat of the day. And remember, too, that the north side of the house sits in shade all day, so the north rooms are always the cool rooms. Live low and live north when it is hot. And there was one more cool place the old homesteads had, and that was the spring house. A little stone building built right over a cold spring or a creek, where the running water kept it cold as an ice box. And that is where they kept the milk and the butter from spoiling. But on a blistering afternoon, my grandmother would send us young ones down to the spring house on some errand, and we would find every excuse in the world to linger down there in that cold, damp, stone cool air. And she knew exactly what we were doing, and she let us, because she had done the very same thing when she was a girl. If you have got a creek or a cold cellar or even a shady stone wall, you have got a cool spot. And the old timers used every one they had. The fourth old way is to move the air, because even warm air moving across your skin will carry your heat away and make you feel cooler. Now, the best of all is a good cross breeze pulling straight through the house. And there is a right way to set one up. You open a window down low on the cool, shady side of the house, and another window up high on the far side, and the cool air comes in low and pushes the hot air out high, and it pulls a steady draft right through. Line your windows up on opposite walls, and you can feel that breeze move. The old timers built their houses with the windows placed just so for exactly this, to catch the summer wind. And the greatest tool there ever was for this is the attic fan, or the whole house fan, set up in the ceiling of the top floor. You open your windows at night and switch it on, and it pulls all the hot air up and blows it out the attic and sucks that cool night air in through every open window like a river. It will cool a whole house down in 20 minutes on a summer evening, and it costs almost nothing to run compared to an air conditioner. Move the air and you move the heat. The fifth old way is the one that will surprise you because it is nearly as good as an air conditioner, and it is just water. It is what the old folks called the poor man's air conditioner, and it works on the magic of evaporation. Here is the trick. When water evaporates, when it turns from a liquid into the air, it pulls a great deal of heat with it. That is the very same reason sweating cools you off. So the old folks put it to work. On a hot evening with a little breeze, you hang a wet sheet or a damp towel right across an open window where the air comes in. And as that breeze blows through the wet sheet, the water evaporates and it cools the air coming into the room. Real and true. Or you set a big pan of water, and even better, a pan of ice if you have it right in front of your fan, and the fan blows over that cold water and sends cool, moist air out across the room. That is a poor man's air conditioner, a fan and a pan of ice, and on a dry, hot night, it works wonders. Wet a sheet, freeze a jug of water and set it before the fan, and let evaporation do the cooling for you. Now, I will be honest with you about this one, because the old folks understood it, and you should too. This wet sheet trick works its best magic on a hot but dry day, the kind of dry heat they have out west, because dry air is thirsty and it drinks that water up fast and cools way down. On a wet, muggy, humid day, when the air is already full of water, it does not work near as well because the air cannot take up much more moisture. So on those thick, sticky days, you lean harder on moving the air and cooling your own body. And on a dry, hot spell, the wet sheet and the pan of ice are pure gold. Either way, it is worth knowing. The sixth old way is to cool your own body straight at the pulse points, and this is the one to remember when you just cannot cool the room. There are certain places on your body where the blood runs right up close to the surface of the skin. The wrists, the back of the neck, the temples, the insides of the elbows and the ankles, and the tops of the feet. And if you cool the blood at those spots, that cool blood carries all through your body and cools you head to toe faster than anything. So run cool water over your wrists at the sink. Lay a cold, wet washcloth on the back of your neck. Best of all, on a bad evening, sit down and soak your feet in a basin of cool water, and you will feel it cool your whole body in a few minutes. Tie a damp bandana around your neck. Wet your wrists and hold them in front of the fan. You do not need to cool the whole house when you can cool the blood itself right at the surface for nothing. The seventh old way is to dress for the heat and to slow yourself down, because half of your misery in the heat is heat you are making yourself. Wear loose, light clothing, thin cotton, or linen that lets the air move and lets your sweat do its cooling. In light colors, whites and pale colors that throw the sun's heat off instead of dark colors that soak it up. But the bigger thing is how you move through the day. The old timers did not fight the noon heat. They worked with it. They did their heavy work, the hoeing and the hauling, in the cool of the early morning and again in the cool of the evening. And in the worst heat of the afternoon, they rested, they sat on the shady porch, they took a nap in the cool of the house, they moved slow and easy. Because when you rush around and work hard in the heat, your own body puts out a furnace of heat on top of what the sun is giving you. Slow down, rest in the heat of the day, work in the cool of the morning, and you will suffer half as much. The eighth old way is to keep the cooking and the heat out of the house, because your stove and your oven are just about the hottest things you own. Think about it. Running your oven on a hot afternoon is like lighting a bonfire right there in your kitchen, and all that heat pours out into the house that you are working so hard to keep cool. The old timers knew this, and that is exactly why so many old farmhouses had a separate summer kitchen, a little building or a shed set off away from the main house where all the hot summer cooking and the canning got done so it would not heat up the home. You may not have a summer kitchen, but you can do the same thing. In a heat wave, cook outside, on a grill or over a fire, or better yet, do not cook hot at all. Eat cold suppers the way the old folks did, cold chicken and sliced garden tomatoes and cold cornbread and a glass of buttermilk. Never, ever fire up that oven in the heat of the day. The ninth old way is to eat and drink for the heat and cool yourself from the inside out. The first thing is water. In the heat, you have got to drink more than you think and stay ahead of your thirst, because your sweat is your body's own air conditioner, and it cannot work if you run dry. So keep the cool water coming, well water, spring water, a jug kept down in the cellar. And then there are the cooling foods, the summer foods, and it is no accident they come ripe in the hottest part of the year. Watermelon, cucumbers, all the cold juicy fruits, they are mostly water and they cool you from the inside as you eat them. A cold slice of watermelon on a hot porch is one of the great pleasures of summer, and it is cooling you the whole time. Keep the water coming, eat the cold watery foods, and go easy on the big heavy hot meals when it is hot. And the 10th old way, the last one, is how you sleep, because a hot sleepless night is the very worst of it. The old answer to this was the sleeping porch. A screened-in porch, often upstairs where the breeze ran best, with a bed or a cot right out in it, so you slept out in the cool moving night air instead of in the stuffy hot house. If you have got a screened porch, there is no finer place to sleep on a summer night. And for the bed itself, here's the old trick. A little while before you turn in, you take your sheets or just your pillowcase and you put them in the ice box or the freezer, folded up in a bag. And when you go to bed, you take out that cool sheet and it feels like heaven, and it buys you the time to fall asleep before the heat creeps back. Put a cot by an open window in the cross breeze, sleep low in the house, and chill your sheets. Sleep in the moving air on a cool sheet, and you will rest even in the heat. So there they are, the old mountain ways to stay cool without an air conditioner. Shut the house up by day and open it wide by night. That is the big one. Keep the sun off the glass and the walls with shade and shutters and a good tree. Go to ground, live low, and live north where it is cool. Move the air with a cross breeze and an attic fan. Rig up the poor man's air conditioner with a wet sheet or a pan of ice before the fan. Cool your own blood at the wrist and the neck and the feet. Dress light and slow down and rest in the heat of the day. Keep the cooking and its heat out of the house. Drink your water and eat the cool, watery foods. And sleep low in the breeze on a cold sheet. Not one of those will run up your electric bill, and every last one is something your great-grandmother knew by heart. Now, let me tell you the one thing I want you to try this week. I am not going to ask you to do all 10. I just want you to try the first one, the big one. Tonight, before you go to bed, throw your windows wide open and let the cool night air pour in. And if you have a fan, set it in a window to pull that cool air through. And then first thing in the morning, before it heats up, go around and shut it all up tight and pull the shades on the sunny side and leave it shut all day. Just that. Do that one thing for a couple of days, and I promise you, you are going to feel the difference in your house, and you are going to wonder why you ever did it any other way. And I want to hear from you down in the comments. Tell me, how did your people keep cool in the summer, back before there was air conditioning? Did your grandmother have a sleeping porch? Did your granddad have some trick for the heat that I did not even mention here tonight? Because those old ways, those little pieces of hard-won knowing, they slip away for good when nobody says them out loud anymore. And I would dearly love to gather them up and pass them on. So put it down there in the comments. I read every single one that comes in. And next time I believe we will step back out into the garden while the summer is still with us, and I will show you the old way to gather and save your seeds from this year's plants so that you never have to buy another packet again, and you keep the best of your garden going year after year the way the old folks always did. So go on and subscribe and stay with me so you do not miss it. But until then, throw those windows open tonight, wet yourself a sheet, and go get some cool sleep. Because a cool house and a good night's rest in the heat of the summer is one of the finest things there is, and you do not need a machine or a big electric bill to have it. Your great-grandmother did not, and neither do you.